Greetings. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Essential Guide Migrating from NetScaler to Progress Kemp LoadMaster. My name is Rochelle Wheeler, and I'm joined today by Andy Redmond. Before we begin today's discussion, I will cover a few housekeeping items. There's a questions panel located in the lower portion of your screen. You may need to either expand the panel by clicking the plus sign or the down arrow to see a full view. We will take questions at the end of today's presentation, and you are encouraged to submit those questions via the questions panel at any time. Today's session is being recorded, and the recording will be made available at its conclusion. I will now hand today's presentation over to Andy Redmond. Andy?
Thanks so much, Rochelle. Hi, everyone. My name is Andy Redmond, and I am thrilled to be joining you this morning for the next 30 minutes or so for this informative discussion. I want to personally welcome you to this webinar where we will explore why you would and how easy it is to migrate from the NetScaler load balancer to the Progress Kemp LoadMaster load balancer. This webinar will be your essential guide in making this transition easy, relatively seamless, and extremely cost-effective. Now, faced with several challenges over the past year, numerous organizations are looking for a load balancing replacement for the NetScaler application delivery controller or load balancer. I'm going to help you understand why, as the G2 category leader, Progress Kemp LoadMaster is your very best alternative. So, it's quite clear here. The focus of this webinar today will be as follows. I'm going to provide you with 4 key things. I'm going to give you an introduction to Progress Kemp LoadMaster. I'm going to tell you the reasons to migrate from NetScaler to Progress Kemp LoadMaster. I'm also going to tell you how to migrate NetScaler to Kemp LoadMaster, and I'm going to tell you the benefits of migrating from NetScaler to Kemp LoadMaster. So let's get into it. I'd like to introduce you to the Progress Kemp LoadMaster. What are some of the things that we know about the solution? That's an excellent question. The Progress Kemp LoadMaster is bar none the highest rated load balancer by Gartner. Now, G2 rates it as the satisfaction leader. Point and click provisioning greatly simplifies load balancing and reverse proxy configurations. Application template deployments takes all the effort out of provisioning complex application suites. Superior network telemetry is actually the foundation of gaining forensic level application insight into every connection that goes through the load balancer. How about secure and reliable app publishing as the bedrock of how LoadMaster can be deployed? It's flexible and scalable, and these deployments are made easy with LoadMaster. Multi-cloud and modern apps are fully enabled when leveraging LoadMaster for secure and flexible application deployment architectures. So real users say that the Progress Kemp LoadMaster is an excellent load balancer. Now, quoting one of the satisfied customers out of hundreds, the quote, "We've used Kemp products for years. They are solid platforms that do exactly what we need them to do in load balancing our traffic. They just work. Their support team is also top notch. The very few configuration issues we've run into, they've been able to take care of same day. They are outstanding and knowledgeable." This is precisely why real users rate Progress Kemp LoadMaster at the very top of the list, according to Gartner. These are no-nonsense results that are very commendable. So you need to ask yourself when you're making a purchasing decision a few different questions. Does the new load balancer help me solve all my business needs? If it doesn't, then clearly the right decision is to move on to a new solution to evaluate. Is the new load balancer going to break my budget? However, if you can substantially reduce your load balancing investment after careful review of Progress Kemp, you can leverage that extra in your budget to add other components to better round out your application, such as Progress Flowmon, partnered with Progress LoadMaster for the ultimate NetSecOps play in your application delivery strategy. Well, you may decide to dedicate a portion of your extra budget on Progress What's Up Gold to simplify the management of your complex IT infrastructure instead. You've got the extra budget. You simply need to figure out how to best strengthen and enhance your application environment. How about this question? Is the technical support team going to be difficult to work with when problems arise? I frequently hear about solutions that have been purchased, but the support team completely ruins the experience for the customer. And then that customer is aggressively looking to migrate to another solution. Then the fourth question, is the new load balancer solution going to be easy to deploy, configure, and manage? It should be. Gartner rankings matter. They are a true reflection of what real people using the product think. Carefully consider what Gartner says, and then you'll be much better tooled to make an excellent business decision. The Grid 2 report is an authoritative source for what users think about their various solutions that are highlighted. Products shown on the grid for load balancing have received a minimum of 10 reviews and ratings in data gathered by November 22 in 2022. Products are ranked by customer satisfaction based on user reviews and market presence based on market share, seller size, and social impact, and placed into 4 categories on the grid. That said, when you look at what G2 says regarding product satisfaction, the numbers speak volumes about how loved the Kemp LoadMaster load balancer is. For example, based on the following sections, the LoadMaster receives the following rankings. Number 1, likelihood to recommend, 96%. Number 2, product going in the right direction, 93%. Number 3, meets requirements, 96%. Number 4, ease of administration, 96%. Number 5, this is brilliant, ease of doing business with, 99%. Number 6, quality of support, 99%. Number 7, ease of setup, 96%. 8, ease of use, 95%. Number 9, net promoter score, or NPS, 90%. Look, any which way you look at it, the data is solid and quite frankly, fantastic for LoadMaster. G2 is an excellent source of truth regarding how real people feel about Progress Kemp, just like Gartner. It's really important to always invest adequate time to research not only the products, but the vendors who make the products you're evaluating for purchasing consideration. There is so much excellent data available online to help with your research. Both G2 and Gartner in-depth knowledge about these products. I do find that most of the sales-related discussions I have come with the prospect already doing the due diligence prior to even engaging with me. Let's now shift our attention to the reasons to migrate from NetScaler to Kemp LoadMaster. We'll not spend too much time talking about the reasons to migrate from NetScaler to Kemp LoadMaster, but I will share a few key thoughts for you to consider. I will say as a reminder, during the intro to the Progress Kemp LoadMaster I covered a minute or two ago, you'll recall that real user opinions were shared about the product, and the outcome was extremely simple and clear. Now, identical metrics were leveraged via Gartner and G2 regarding NetScaler, and the results aren't too positive. I'll share an additional mix of thoughts with you as well, based on industry knowledge and actual input that I have personally received from existing and former NetScaler sales, customers, support, and workforce employees. What I'll share are actual anecdotal comments directly given to me with the rest of what I'll share. NetScaler is ranked 8th per Gartner. This result alone is rather poor. They've been down that direction for quite a long time as well. NetScaler has been around the block for decades. You would think that with all the focus on delivering critical application functionality, this wouldn't be the case. But unfortunately for many of their customers, it is the case. They've faced extreme product disruptions. Now, the NetScaler, truthfully, is a very complicated product. Configuring basic services can prove to be challenging for the new user. With modern solutions, simplicity needs to be at the forefront of product development and maturation. Unfortunately, this isn't the case with NetScaler. Yes, they've included some generally helpful wizards for complex configurations, but even still, complexity is at the forefront of their design ethos. Perhaps not intentionally designed this way, but in comparison with Progress Kemp LoadMaster, it's fact. It's also very expensive, 3 to 5 times the cost of an equivalent LoadMaster appliance. Guess what? For the functionality that these sorts of solutions provide, the cost is not justified, in my humble opinion. There has been a serious reduction in staff across the board: sales, support, engineering, and more. Historically, and this is the gospel, I was a principal escalation engineer and technical lead for NetScaler escalation. I know the deal. It was hard enough to find quality individuals to support the NetScaler when I was there, considering the complexity of the product and frequent product bugs. However, with the serious reduction in staff of late, my heart genuinely goes out to the current customer base that must continue to deal with the fallout. There's been a holistic change in how to purchase the NetScaler as well. A move to subscription has caused many customers, existing customers, to jump ship, looking for alternative solutions that don't force companies to purchase with such limited options. Progress Kemp has a completely different ethos and perspective, and our perspective is resonating very well with the consumer base. What about the lack of customer responsiveness? Numerous new LoadMaster customers who have migrated from NetScaler indicated the lack of responsiveness from NetScaler. It's been a real frustration. When you need to make important business decisions regarding technical changes, your vendor partner needs to demonstrate real commitment in this regard. Product support challenges are absolutely real. A few massive multi-billion-dollar organizations have come to Progress Kemp because their support experience was so poor. Bugs that were submitted rarely had updates or responses to them. Support has declined substantially. It's not surprising to see this outcome when experienced technicians are let go. A friend of mine who recently left the company in the past 2 months advised me that the entire NetScaler technical support team was being let go in favor of third-party support. My LinkedIn feed has literally been filled with former NetScaler employees looking for new opportunities. I've had numerous reach out to me personally for opportunities at Progress Software. These things happen in the industry, I know, but it does tell you something about an organization when there are so many serious changes occurring. You must seriously ask yourself if you want to continue doing business with a vendor like that. There is hope, however. Let's invest the next few minutes discussing the reasons why you should migrate from NetScaler to Kemp LoadMaster. Now, we'll talk about hardware to start. The hardware from Progress Kemp scales from 1 gig a second to 90 gigs per appliance. On the low end, the LMX1 supports 1 gig, and on the high end, the XHC100NG, NG for next generation, supports 90 gig a second. The cost per appliance is substantially better than the competitive solution from NetScaler. I've given you the MSRP right on the screen. High performance x86 hardware with the custom LoadMaster operating system, or LMOS, ported for the specific hardware it's installed on, enables rock solid performance for a fraction of the costs of the very complex NetScaler. You don't need high cost custom ASICs or FPGAs to enable excellent performance and value for your investment. High performance x86 hardware has been proven to deliver what most organizations need. Scaling up hardware with more and more apps on a single high availability pair increases the blast radius of failure by magnitudes. There is great wisdom in scaling out as needed versus the scale up approach. So if hardware is not desired, there are numerous options to meet an organization's business requirements with virtual options. The VLM, or Virtual LoadMaster 500, supports 500 meg and up to 500 SSL transactions per second. The SSL transactions per second, are basically the initial client key exchange to establish that secure encrypted channel. Now, the VLM 3000 supports 3 gigasecond and up to 4,000 SSL transactions per second, or TPS. The VLM Max is completely uncapped in both bandwidth and SSL TPS. Now, regarding the VLM Max, if you, as the administrator of the virtual environment and appliance, provisioned 16 virtual CPUs and 32 gig of RAM, you could support a nominal 15 gig a second and north of 13,000 SSL transactions per second. We have customers that have provisioned virtual appliances with no fooling, 64 CPU and 256 gig of RAM. We do not limit the underlying provisioning in any manner at all. Now, NetScaler virtual appliances have a restriction on how many underlying resources you can provision per appliance. Why? I personally think that's rather restricting to the customer base. Now, practically speaking, what difference does it make if you add more CPU or RAM to the virtual appliance? All you're functionally doing is giving more headroom for the licensed bandwidth so that the appliance isn't running at a maximum value per CPU and associated RAM if pushed to the license limit. In perhaps a basic example of this concept, if you were to own a 15-passenger Ford van and you drive it with just one other person as the only passenger, you can do that to your heart's content. Enjoy driving your van. Why force you to drive a smaller vehicle? It doesn't make good sense to me. With virtual load balancer appliances, you can also leverage the pooled licensing model from Progress Kemp. Pooled is amazing. It's a very simple and flexible licensing model. Now, pooled allows you to purchase bandwidth tiers starting with 50 gigabit each month. You can carve up that 50 gigabit into different load balancer instance sizes to meet the specific needs that you have. Perhaps one BU or business unit only needs 100 meg of throughput. Simple. Provision a 100 meg load balancer. Now you have 50 gigabit minus 100 megabit. So functionally, you can deploy however many load balancers you want at specific throughput levels up to the 50 gigabit level. Pool scales to a single SKU of 500 gigabit, which you can add more, which is amazingly flexible. You can also get more pooled if the business requires. You can get multiple SKUs of 500 gigabit. This allows organizations to be able to deploy load balancers per BU or business unit, per app, and very few apps per load balancers as well. Think about the notion of per app load balancing. When an app owner requires some level of maintenance, coordinating with multiple app owners in order to perform maintenance is no longer required. You don't have to wait for a maintenance window that others require. You can do what you want with your load balancer whenever you want. This is the ultimate in flexibility. Turn on load balancers and turn off load balancers to your heart's content. Flexible? Yes. Really flexible? Absolutely. By the way, each of the load balancers deployed includes single sign-on for streamlined authentication to apps that require dual-factor, multi-factor auth, a web application firewall or WAF, global server load balancing, GSLB, an IPS, intrusion protection system, etc. Bottom line is that each of the load balancers deployed with a point-and-click provisioning have all features included natively, nothing else to add. One SKU gives it all. With pooled load balancers, we don't fiddle around. Get what you want, when you want it, one SKU, and you get it all. So, you're using NetScaler in your data center and are seriously looking at changing to Progress Kemp LoadMaster. Good decision. No problem. You can replace your NetScalers in your data center, and you can also deploy LoadMaster load balancers in public cloud too, or multiple cloud environments. Flexibility has never been an issue with LoadMaster. Deploy Kemp LoadMasters to Google Cloud, AWS, Microsoft Azure, Orange, Open Telecom Cloud, and more. And then logically connect them with global server load balancing to enable a robust multi-cloud approach to your application delivery strategy. LoadMasters deployed in numerous cloud environments can act as a single logical forwarding engine into your application environment. Groom clients into whatever environment you want based upon intelligent forwarding policies. Need to do some level of maintenance in one of those cloud environments without disruption to your published apps? Not a problem. LoadMaster can groom clients off certain environments and into other environments as desired to ensure application availability and resiliency and security can still be accomplished seamlessly. Okay, a practical question needs to be asked at this point. If you're going to deploy LoadMasters to different environments, how do you ensure that you gain critical insight into how your published apps are performing, coupled with being intelligently alerted when things aren't going so well? Simple. Leverage LoadMaster 360 as a SaaS solution to solve this. LoadMaster 360 provides organizations of all sizes with the controls and insights necessary to ensure that applications are performing as expected and deliver the best possible application experience for users. LoadMaster 360 has numerous core functions that make it so valuable as the perfect partner for your LoadMasters. Yes, the ones that you will be migrating to from NetScaler. How about improving your application availability? You need to provide insights on application delivery metrics and status that are key to maintaining application availability and performance. You will be able to simplify hybrid and multi-cloud operations, integrate all the cloud and on-premise application delivery management into a single point for total visibility and control. You can accelerate issue resolution. You'll get enhanced issue alerting with in-context help to simplify root cause analysis and reduce time to resolution. If issues occur in your app environment, and they will, LoadMaster 360 will give you the necessary input to help you make critical decisions quickly to restore application access. You can unite application, NetOps, and SecOps teams. You will be able to provide a single source of truth for all stakeholders and avoid complexity of maintaining skills across multiple clouds and hypervisors. Now, if your ISP, internet connection, goes down to your data center, LoadMaster 360 will notify you proactively about the issue. You won't have to use another third-party solution to monitor basic connectivity into your application environments. Regarding performance monitoring in your application environment, there's more. Can you believe it? Every application environment has issues. This is fairly obvious, I know. It's a no-brainer. However, not only does Progress Kemp have LoadMaster 360 for excellent insight and alerting for all things performance, but we've taken things a step further with the very best network telemetry insight available from Progress Flowmon. That's right. We've taken the most powerful flow data exporter on the market and integrated that exporter directly into the Kemp LoadMaster load balancer. We'll call the exporter a probe because that's functionally what it is. Now, the probe generates data down to the application level and measures performance to the microsecond. You see, the load balancer has the enviable position of being in between the clients accessing the applications and the servers hosting the applications. With this privileged position, the load balancer is in the prime spot in the application service chain to understand the performance of the client requests and the server responses and evaluate the integrity of the network delivering both. With powerful analytics, every request and response is measured precisely with timestamps and baseline for quality assurance. The Flowmon probe baked into the LoadMaster appliance gives it the ability to natively collect layer 2 through layer 4 information on IP addresses, protocols, server response time, round trip time, jitter, and more, while leveraging traffic decapsulation to monitor real user application conversations. Want to know if there's a network issue, an application issue, a client network issue, TCP retransmissions because of dropped packets, out of order packets, and more? You'll be able to easily visualize all of it and find the needle in the haystack. If the app dev team claims performance issue is actually a network issue, well, completely eliminate the ambiguity, and provide forensic evidence to prove it's not. Or maybe it is once you've done the quick analysis. At least you'll have the data to make good decisions about issue resolution in a timely manner to avoid a brand issue or a costly outage. Now, additional layer 7 data, such as host names, URLs, browser information for HTTP or HTTPS protocols, and other fields for protocols like DNS, DHCP, SQL, SMTP, or Samba CIFS, and more are analyzed for performance. If you need to get super detailed with the data flowing through the LoadMaster, you can. If you need to set predictive alerts regarding performance of critical business apps, you can. Make sure that you're alerted and educated before issues become serious business problems. The LoadMaster has brilliant network telemetry data powered by Progress Flowmon. It's the best on the planet. So hopefully you're starting to see precisely why migrating off NetScaler and onto Progress Kemp LoadMaster is such a prudent, enabling, and cost savings decision. It's not just about the technology either. It's about making a purchasing decision for a solution because you trust the company that you're doing business with and the direction that they're headed. Progress is going the right direction. NetScaler is certainly not. And this is why so many of their customers are leaving their family for other solutions and aligning with their business objectives. Congratulations. You've made the wonderful decision to migrate off NetScaler to a more sensible load balancing solution, Progress Kemp LoadMaster. Welcome to the Progress family. Okay, the obvious question is, how are you going to migrate off the NetScaler, considering it's presently load balancing so many web applications and is a key part of your Citrix storefront for virtual desktops and applications environment? Is it possible to migrate? Yes. Will it be complex to make this change? More than likely, no. That brings us to the practical aspects of making this wonderful change in your load balancing strategy. So what's required for you to make this change? Will it be complex? Or can Progress Kemp partner with you to make this change relatively effortless? Let's talk through it at a high level. The NetScaler has a configuration file. This file can be understood and converted into a Progress Kemp LoadMaster configuration. Boom! It's that easy. Okay, so how does all this happen then? Great question, but I'm sure you've guessed the answer already. Progress Professional Services has a very cost-effective engagement to make this migration off NetScaler and onto Progress Kemp LoadMaster fairly straightforward. The LoadMaster Professional Services team provides expertise and insight to ensure the rapid and issue-free deployment of load balancing resources. We evaluate, plan, design, and implement your load balancing environment with a personalized service that brings the experience of over 100,000 implementations to your deployment. Legit, 100,000 deployments and growing. The services that we provide include deployment and migration, LoadMaster auditing, a selection of basic and advanced training options, LoadMaster upgrade, LoadMaster web application firewall, WAF, false positive analysis, and web application firewall custom rule writing as well. Bottom line, we're here to serve you and make this migration off NetScaler and onto Progress Kemp LoadMaster a truly wonderful experience. Then there are those, however, who are really adventurous and who want to do things themselves. We've engaged with so many who are not only technically astute, but they have a passion for self-driven success. I admire those types of people as well. Now, I can be that way from time to time. I mean, when I buy new furniture that needs to be put together, frequently I'll say, who needs directions? Just ask the wife and she'll tell you the truth. And then after a few, I'll break out the directions as I should have from the beginning and get things done right. Perhaps I should just hire Progress Professional Services to help me with my next furniture progress as well. They're that good. Okay, back to reality. The Progress Kemp LoadMaster support and resources pages provide all the documentation a self-driven techie needs to be successful. Like I said before, perhaps you're like me and want to give it a go yourself. No problem. If you run into issues, the Progress Technical Support Team is the best on the planet. And this is why Gartner Peer Insights has such a high rating. Real people who have used the product, and specifically our support team, have rated us this high for well over a decade. Our support team is no joke. Call us 24/7 and be amazed at how fast you have your questions answered. Legit. Here we are. We finally made it to the benefits of migrating from NetScaler to Progress Kemp LoadMaster. So, what are the benefits? End your frustrations with your existing vendor. Greatly lower your cost of ownership with your application delivery strategy. It's a glorious thing. Enable much greater simplicity when deploying, configuring, and managing your load balancing estate. Gain amazing visibility across all specs of your application service chain. Troubleshoot performance related issues with the very best network telemetry data in the industry and reduce your time to resolution by magnitudes. Determine if issues are network, application, or client related in no time flat. Prevent damaging cyber incidents and hacks with a robust security solution via Kemp LoadMaster Web Application Firewall and Progress Flowmon AI-based NetSecOps platform. Finally, be part of the best family on the planet, Progress Kemp. Thanks very much for staying with me throughout this webinar. To highlight what I discussed, I gave you an introduction to Progress Kemp LoadMaster. I told you the key reasons to migrate from NetScaler to Progress Kemp LoadMaster. I discussed how to migrate NetScaler to Kemp LoadMaster, and I also discussed the benefits of migrating from NetScaler to Kemp LoadMaster. It's been an absolute pleasure to share with you today the essential guide to migrating off NetScaler and onto Progress Kemp LoadMaster. Thanks again for your diligent attention today. Questions? This is your opportunity to ask them, or if you would prefer, reach out directly to me at andy.redmond@progress.com. Don't be bashful. I'm here to assist you, and I genuinely mean that. Over to you, Rochelle.
Hey, Andy. So we have a few questions, and they seem to have a similar theme. So the question is, does Kemp?
Rochelle, are you there?
Can you hear me, Andy?
Yes.
Yes. So we have a few questions,
Certainly.
and they have the same theme. So the question is, does Kemp support HDX streaming?
So HDX streaming is an integral part of Citrix storefront. Today, we do not support HDX streaming.
Got it. So another question that we have is in regards to load balancing and the fact that someone is inquiring as to whether companies use multiple load balancing solutions to handle their needed traffic.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And you see this with very large companies like enterprise class companies that will say, look, okay, we're going to use a Cisco router base and we're also going to use Juniper, or we're going to use another one like Extreme or something else, right? And this is common. And companies do that for a couple of reasons. They'll do that because they want to ensure that they have price competitiveness. They'll do that so that if a vendor has start having issues like NetScaler does, they've got a business plan that allows them to continue to grow with the other platform. And we see this frequently where a company has purchased F5, maybe they've got NetScaler as well, maybe they've got A10 or Radware or something else, or maybe they have Kemp LoadMaster. We see this frequently to where we'll be introduced into a new business because one particular business unit wants to load balance an application or multiple applications. They're at the end of life with their existing platform. They don't want to pay the atrocious renewal fees to get the new hardware and do that kind of a thing. And so they'll bring Progress Kemp LoadMaster in to suffice those particular needs. And what ends up happening is once they see how easy it is to deploy and manage these appliances, because It's no joke. It's legit. Our stuff is incredibly straightforward and easy to manage. We end up over time replacing those other application delivery controllers in those environments. Sometimes companies will do that and keep two vendors regardless, just because of various different business objectives. But that's a great question.
So here we have another question. Is it possible to generate two-factor authentication without third-party solutions?
So we use third-party solutions for dual factor, multi-factor. We don't generate those factors ourselves. And the fundamental reason for that is because what if your solution is hacked in some manner or another? Now, even your second party, even your second factor authentication has the potential of being mitigated there. And so we've made a decision to have authentication through AD, through other means, SAML, multi-factor authentication through Azure, through Google, and those kinds of things. We've decided to make a decision to build flexibility for those other third-party solutions, so that it's not just a one-trick pony, right? You're hacked. You've got a problem now. Even your second factor has been mitigated there, and so we want to avoid those kinds of issues.
So another question is, how easy is it to upgrade the firmware?
It's like super duper easy. I mean, literally, you go into the system administration of the appliance, you go to update, you drag the software into, or you choose the software via, point here and click and grab it from your desktop. And this is what's so nice about upgrading the software. If you're talking about an HA pair, you can upgrade to standby one. And so production continues to function, and then you can do an upgrade of the primary one, and it'll flip over to the secondary appliance to continue carrying on that data. But if there's an issue with the firmware, and it's like highly rare with our product that we have issues, but if there's an issue with the firmware, it's literally click right here and roll back the firmware instantly. So you can roll back if you have issues. I mean, I don't remember one time, and I've been here 8 years, that I've had to actually see a customer do that, to roll back. I mean, I'm sure it does happen, but it's highly rare. So upgrading the firmware is super duper simple.
Can we convert everything in the NetScaler configuration to LoadMaster? Is there an edge point we couldn't do?
Yeah, there are certain features that we don't support fundamentally with Citrix software products. Take, for instance, like ICA protocol. Are we decoding the ICA protocol if you're using Storefront? We are not doing that. There are reasons why we're not doing that, because it would be a violation of their software agreement to actually do that. So there's specific things that we can't do, but it's easy enough to get an ns.conf file, right? And to explore that and figure out how the configuration, how many virtual services are there targeted virtual services, are there specific policies, et cetera. The Kemp LoadMaster is not a VPN concentrator. We don't terminate VPN connections on our appliances like like Access Gateway would. But I will tell you this: of all the customers that we've dealt with, where a customer is consuming Citrix Storefront, virtual desktop, virtual apps, and those kinds of things, they have things like HDX. They're using ICA whatsoever. The truth be told, because we do things in a certain way that's different than NetScaler, the performance of actually connecting into Storefront, because we do have a Storefront configuration template that greatly simplifies making that migration. The speed at which we're actually connecting to those virtual desktops and apps is faster than the NetScaler. That's the truth. And so there are certain limitations, yes. And there are organizations that have come to us to make a migration, and they've just come to the conclusion, hey, this isn't what we want. What we'll end up doing is, I'll give you an example. We had a customer come to us that had 56 NetScaler appliances. And they did a variety of load balancing. They're doing the Storefront, et cetera. They kept 6 of their NetScalers to purely do the access gateway functions and some other things that were very, very specific for that particular environment. The rest of their appliances, they completely offloaded to our pooled model. It saved them a tremendous amount of money, and it greatly simplified their way. The standard load balancing and functionality that they leverage for the rest of their application suite. So that's a prime example of why, of how a company would say, look, I'm going to keep NetScaler for just this specific function, but I'm going to greatly reduce my application costs and increase simplicity and do some other things as well, and gain the benefit of our support team, and make a holistic change to where now this company is a two vendor supplier.
And Andy, we have another question here from Richard. Do you handle content switching?
Yeah, absolutely. We handle content switching. So if there's a need to inspect the head or whatever, we can absolutely do content switching. As a matter of fact, our application templates, take for instance, if you were to download the trial of our virtual LoadMaster and then go into our application templates, download, take for instance, Microsoft Exchange 2019, upload that template, and then deploy a new virtual service. We're literally talking 1 to 2 minutes to accomplish this objective. You'll see robust content switching that's been baked into the platform. We can make policy decisions based upon, are you coming from an IP subnet? Do you want to flip this URL from this to that? Do you want to give a different response from the server to the client so they don't see various different pieces of information? Our content switching is incredibly straightforward and robust. So making that transition from a NetScaler is, quite frankly, super duper easy.
And I have a final question for you. Is there a certification path for LoadMaster?
We do have training. We have training that's self-driven. We also have instructor-led training. Our professional services team can give a variety of different training, very basic to very advanced training. And then you can get a certificate from, completing that, that particular plan of training. I will note that, honestly, the product is so straightforward and simple. I mentioned in the webinar that I was the principal technical escalation engineer and the technical lead for the Americas at one point for escalation team. And I was literally blown away with simplicity of the product, the LoadMaster product, and the lack of bugs. We have very few CVEs, and so learning the platform was unbelievably easy. People that don't even have a background in load balancing can incredibly quickly spin up services and get them configured. I mean, so even with the training that we provide, the truth of the matter is, even when you look at our support tickets that come in, yeah, there's bugs. I mean, every platform, every software platform has bugs, right? We rarely see them. The vast majority of engagements that we have are more in the line of, how do I do this or how do I do that, because someone didn't look at the documentation, or they just had a quick question they wanted an answer to. And so our problems are lickety split fast completed, and this is why Gartner is ranking us so high. So yes, there is a training program, but honestly, the product is so incredibly easy to configure compared to the NetScaler, even F5.
Another question for you here. There are too many options for hardware LoadMaster, and it's very good. But I guess there is one option to use multi-tenancy. Is there any limitation to use multi-tenancy for all hardware appliances?
So we have one hardware appliance, which is a multi-tenant appliance. And with the multi-tenant appliance, you can provision, we make recommendations for how many hosts that you can deploy, what you should deploy, our recommendation. You can deploy more than we recommend. Our hardware data sheet is available on our website. So if you go to kemp.ax, KEMP.ax, that will redirect you to kemptechnologies.com. Under products, we've got hardware. You can click that link, and that will take you to our hardware data sheet. Within that hardware data sheet, you can find our multi-tenant appliance, and it will show you the throughput, the SSL transactions per second, the recommendations that we have, et cetera. What we're seeing, to be honest with you, is a lot of customers are migrating off of hardware platforms, and they're migrating to virtualized environments, whether it's VMware, Hyper-V, they're using Proxmox, they're using KVM, whatever. and they're deploying solutions because they already have virtualized environments for their applications, right? And so it's just a no-brainer to add virtual load balancers to that estate versus deploying a piece of hardware. Now, hardware is fantastic because look, it's a discrete appliance. You've got discrete physical ports. It's segmented from your virtual host. If you have a virtual host environment problem, you're not troubleshooting that in cooperation with troubleshooting or concurrent with troubleshooting your application delivery estate. But the truth of the matter is, when you use virtual load masters in your virtualized environment, you reduce latency, you simplify your deployment. It's very portable and how you can deliver your virtualized load balancers. Very nimble. It's there's no forklift when you have to upgrade to from a VLM 3000 to a VLM Max that gives you uncapped services. It's just grab the new license because you procured it and put your Kemp ID in, your password, and boom, you reboot the appliance and you got the uncapped capabilities. You can't do that with hardware, right? I mean, you've got a forklift coupled with the fact that hardware takes up rack space, hardware requires powering, network connectivity, and things of that nature. And so we're seeing a migration away from hardware, even though hardware is about 50% of our sales. Truthfully, I mean, from a competitive landscape, F5 and NetScaler are considerably less than that. We're seeing massive growth from a virtualized standpoint because it just makes sense for a lot of customers. And then we have customers that do a variety of things, like they'll have hardware, they'll use a multi-tenant appliance, and they'll also have virtual, or they'll have cloud because they're doing some kind of hybrid cloud or multi-cloud type of deployment. We have one very large customer that initially purchased multi-tenant appliances. They were fine. They were leveraging. But when they saw the cost and the advantages of our pooled approach, they switched after a number of years, and they've been given the flexibility of having more flexibility with respect to a virtualized strategy. But you can mix and match, not a problem.
Hey, Andy. So I have a question from Patrick here. Does Kemp support automatic renewal of SSL certificates
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Let's Encrypt?
Let's Encrypt. Absolutely. We have DigiCert, we have Let's Encrypt. And so Kemp you can provision all your certificates on Let's Encrypt. It's super easy to do. As a matter of fact, I have a 1 gig fiber at the homestead. It's a 1 gig fiber full duplex connection. I'm blessed to have fiber at the house. And I publish a number of applications outside of my environment. I don't pay a dime for SSL certificates. Let's Encrypt manages that process for me. It's super duper simple.
I'm pausing for a second to see if any additional questions come in.
No.
But it appears that is our final question for today's session. Perfect. Okay. So I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. Again, on your screen, you can see Andy's direct email address if you have any additional questions for him. And I'd like to mention again that the recording from today's session will be sent to you via email. Feel free to share that recording with your peers. And we look forward to another session with you in the near future. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day.